What's up, America? Neil here from Geauga Firearms Academy. Thanks for watching. Today I'm going to talk about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and that's guys buying their significant others revolvers. So let's get started. Let's just get this out of the way. I do realize that there's a tiny percentage of you out there that have a physical disability who are unable to operate a pistol. And even if that is the case, I still recommend a pistol. And we'll talk about that in just a minute and why that works. But here's a scenario that plays out. So the guy comes into a firearm store of some sort, and he immediately goes to the small snub-nosed backup revolver case. So there's two ways to handle this. Either someone's just there to sell a gun, they don't give a shit, or there's someone who actually does give a shit. And for me, as a trainer, it really irks me. I want people to buy guns that first of all they've shot and that they're competent with and they shoot well, not just a gun for a gun, okay? So the answer is always, oh, I'm buying this for my wife, girlfriend, whatever. And so the next question for me is, oh, they really love revolvers. And of course I know the answer, 99.9% of the time is, oh no, this is their first gun, they've never shot before. And so we automatically assume, oh, well, she can't rack the pistol, or she couldn't rack one of the pistols that I gave her, so we gotta go to revolver. I'm here to say that's BS. That's nonsense. A little bit of training. My oldest female student was 79 years old and she was able to rack a slide. Not all slides and guns are equal, and let's just be realistic about this. If you buy a snub-nosed revolver because you can't rack the slide, let's think about this. We have 5 rounds in there. 5. Now, even if I couldn't reload a pistol at all, okay? For example, a gun I carry, the Springfield XDM, I have 20 rounds in there. So if we do the math, you're going to end up reloading that revolver 4 times. Well, what would you rather have? 20 opportunities to defend yourself, or 5 and have to figure out how to reload it, even if you can? What I would prefer, they say, is, hey, I don't have the experience or the training ability to teach my wife, girlfriend, whatever, how to do this. And perhaps maybe you can recommend a trainer who can train her to do it properly. So here I'm going to show you some techniques that a shooter can use that may have limited strength and still successfully rack a slide. So here's the first technique I teach everyone who may have some difficulty with that particular firearm. And remember that firearms are different. In other words, for example, an M&P full size is going to be much easier to rack than an M&P shield. There are more leverage, more to grasp, the spring and the weight, it just makes it easier to actually rack. So it could also be a gun choice. But here's what I teach. Instead of having a person try to pull the slide back and let it go, in this instance, we take our shooting hand and hold the gun out. We take our supportive hand or reactive hand, hold onto the slide, just grasp it. Now we take our shooting hand and we simply punch forward. Okay, so I'm literally just moving this forward, keeping this stationary. And that's been a cure to, I would say, over 80% of the issues with people who have trouble racking the slide. This one I don't like as much, and there's a myriad of reasons. First and foremost, it's a position where you hold the gun close to your body, you take your upper hand, and then you kind of almost hug together. And although you can get a good amount of force there, there's a couple dangers here. One, where the gun is pointing. So if you're the downrange safe area is this way, people tend to do this to do it rather than turning their body, obviously flagging someone who may be next to them. The second thing is this port. When people do this, they tend to get their fingers close to this port. And when this slide comes back, if your finger's in there, it's going to be a bad day. And of course, if it were a real life or death scenario where you actually had a racket, I don't care who it is, if they have enough strength to hold onto the gun, they could always take that gun, shove it into a dresser, a corner, or something, and force it down and rack it. That happens all the time. In fact, we train that. So that's also a viable option. So the point of this video, first, I want you to be very clear. It's not a beat up on revolvers, okay? Revolvers have their place. And if I have people who have been shooting for 40 years and that's what they're comfortable with and that's what they like, I would still recommend they at least try a pistol, be competent in both systems so they can make an actual choice rather than just saying, well, that's what I've always used. But nonetheless, it's not an anti-revolver video. This is an don't buy your girlfriend or your wife a gun just because you don't have the ability to teach them. Get some competent training and let them learn how to do that, because majority of the cases, the vast majority, they will be able to do it with one of the 3 methods I just talked about. Alrighty guys, I hope you liked this video. If you did, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I always appreciate that. Comments are welcome, but don't fight. If you go ahead and subscribe, you'll get notified every time I put a new video out. Until next time, remember, it's always better to be judged by 12 than carried by 6.